So I saw Deadpool and Wolverine last night,
Nice.
and it's like it was very fun, very gratuitous, and it had me like it was a very simple movie. I feel like there's no way you could get like the wrong message or be like, oh, this movie is promoting this kind of behavior. And it kind of had me thinking about reactions to other movies. I feel like we're living in a world where I understand that everything is up to interpretation, but I feel like we've gone to a point in like society that people's are taking their own personal interpretation of things a little too far. That's what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about understanding, media literacy in particular. Keep in mind, neither of us are experts on this topic. We're just saying stuff.
As always.
As always.
But yeah, so welcome to the Low High Podcast. Remember, if you're feeling high, if you're feeling low, you've always got a place to go. So thank you very much for tuning in with us today to talk about media literacy. I can barely read, so I don't know how.
Oh my god. When was the last time you read an entire book?
It's actually crazy. I started reading, I feel like after college, I actually tried to start reading, and I've enjoyed it. So, like, I think I finished a book like 2 weeks ago. I'm really slow. I can read like a book a month, maybe.
Nice. What book was it?
It was called, I think it was A Journey for Madmen. It's actually crazy. Like, so I don't like, it's interesting. When I read books, I enjoy nonfiction. Like, I hate reading fiction books. But if it's like a manga or a comic or anything else, I really enjoy fiction. So that was just kind of a true account about 9 people who raced around the world.
Okay.
Like in a yacht, yeah. Only one guy made it back, which is crazy. What about you?
Damn. I wasn't expecting that last part. Like, oh, only one guy made it back.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I don't know. I'm pretty sure like the last book I read like a self-help book.
Mm-hmm.
Literally, it was literally called Let That Shit Go.
Did it stick with you?
Kind of. Like, the thing with self-help books for me is that a lot of them give, if you've read a couple self-help books that give like decent advice, you're gonna find a lot of the same advice in them. And the thing is that it's good advice. It's like valid advice. But I don't know. In terms of like my reading, I'm a big fiction person for books, but I actually haven't read like a bigger like fiction book in a long time. I need to probably go back and finish like the last Percy Jackson book, I guess, because I never finished that series. I read one of like Kevin Hart's autobiographies, if he has more than one, but I started reading that. Pretty funny.
I was considering picking that up because I love like autobiographies or self-help books. And I was curious about like reading his because he's a funny guy, and I wondered if he was going to make it funny or not. So I'm glad to know he did.
Yeah, like it's surprisingly funny, but also surprisingly serious because it's kind of like an older book. I've had it for like a couple of years before a lot of the major stuff like around his life happened.
Yeah.
So it seems like he's always had like kind of a serious-ish tone and way. Like he's a very funny person, but I guess his ability to be humorous comes from a serious place. Although I don't know. Maybe I'm just talking. Who knows?
No, I think that's valid because so I'm a big fan of Bruce Lee, and everyone knows him for being like a movie star. But he was also hugely into philosophy. Like he had written he basically wrote a book. He just never published it, his journals, and so I read a few of his like published journals, and it's pretty interesting. Like there's always kind of two sides to a coin. Like so I can totally see Kevin Hart, who is hilarious and has huge personality, but also like have a very serious like message that he's really dear and like that he holds core to his heart, and like it's cool to be able to read that, I'm sure.
I remember when he first got into shape. That was so crazy.
He's like in shape though. He's really fit.
He's really in shape. And I remember the initial reaction. Somebody was like, "Oh my God, when did Kevin Hart become zaddy?" And I'm like, "Whoa! What are you talking about?" And I'm like, "Oh, that man is actually ripped.
He's fit as hell."
And like, I feel bad because we're at a point where nobody really brings up how in shape he is, but everybody's always bringing up how short he is still.
Yeah.
And it's like, bro, that's crazy. As somebody who's been naturally tall, I'm really glad that I don't have to be short, because being short makes all your other flaws so apparent.
Wait, damn. What do you mean it
No.
makes all your other flaws so apparent?
No, because I feel like when you're like tall, a lot of people don't really like look into you as a person. It's another thing about literacy. Like the way we interpret people. Like, don't get me wrong, we're in a position as people where we can only like get an idea of what people are doing from what we see. But the thing is that our own personal biases are always gonna color how we think about people. And that's why, because whenever like somebody like mischaracterizes you as a person, you're like, oh my god, how dare you do that? But when you mischaracterize, when you mischaracterize something and somebody, and they like bring it up, you're like, oh, I made a mistake.
Yeah, like how
That's
could I
the
have
thing.
known?
Like, how could I have known? Exactly. And that thing, and I feel like that could I have known doesn't really translate super well into like media.
Yep.
Because like you can't really be making wild assumptions about somebody off like, oh, what their character is doing in like the movie that they wrote. Unless, okay, I never saw The Idol or anything, but I've heard that like the behind the scenes stuff like that, like, okay, maybe this dude was really, maybe the content was really reflecting his character. But like aside from that, because like, I don't know, do you think that people take away the wrong message like more often than not?
It's tough because, see, like when you say the wrong message, that's where it gets really interesting to me, because everything is interpreted so personally. Like you cannot avoid that, I think. And the writer might, like, I just wonder, like, I think a big example that we can go into is like, remember the Joker movie? It came out, everyone was talking about it. It was a very big deal, and it kind of brought up a narrative where it's like a lot of people really empathize with the Joker, and they were saying like, this is why we need to fix like the other like larger systems in the world, so that way we can have support for people like that. Other people were saying like, this is inspiring violence in a lot of people. There were so many different opinions, and I almost think that like the point of that movie, much like other ones like Taxi Driver, etc., it's like the point of that movie was not to make that character like a good example, like American Psycho. It's like, you shouldn't be like, this is a cool guy, I can relate to, I want to be like him. It's like, this is who you should not want to be like. This is a bad person, or he's kind of fucked in a way. I want to say like a bad person feels like more like I'm like judging morally, but
it's actually crazy that you brought up American Psycho, because one, I've never seen it. I've only seen clips of American Psycho online, and the American Psycho clips I've seen have been exclusively from all these Sigma male, like alpha male accounts, like posting shorts of like, yeah, this is how you be a man. And it's just that dude being a weirdo.
Bro, well, it's like he's literally a psychopath serial killer. Literally not somebody you want to be like at all. Meanwhile, like one of my friends was like, dude, I have a skincare routine like Christian Bale in American Psycho. Like in a positive way. You're saying it like a compliment. Like, no.
Bro,
the dude's literally a sociopath.
Just drink water and wash your face. You don't need to be doing all that. No. I feel, and that's the thing, I feel like obviously in every era, there's always a character who is like, somebody who is like, raised up on a pedestal. And I know Arnold Schwarzenegger was like the big, very manly guy. But I feel like now we've moved like away from the outward appearance of like, being manly. And like it's become like an attitude thing. Like, it's who you are on the inside.
Yeah.
But I feel like, for example, like a lot of people, like the guy from, have you seen Peaky Blinders?
Love Peaky Blinders, but yes.
Oh, I love Peaky Blinders. Great show. But the guy, the main character of Peaky Blinders, Thomas Shelby, that's another guy I'm always seeing on these cringe ass like alpha male, how to command respect, that shit. And it's like, bro, this is literally a criminal who kills people. Why do you want to be like him? Why is this your role model?
It is crazy because too, like, I mean, you look at those, like, everyone knows the edits you're talking about. It's like, it's just those black and white cuts of Thomas Shelby, like, being a beast. But the thing is, like, he's, like, the whole show is, like, it's about his personal downfall and how he literally gets his family killed because he's, like, cursed by ambition and doesn't know when to stop. He's a shitty person. He acknowledges that, but he just continues going down that path. So much he tries to kill himself, like, multiple times.
No, because like like the scene where he like goes into the field with like the gun in his head and he's just absolutely tweaking out.
Tweaking out.
And they're like, this is it? This is your alpha male role model? For real?
No, it's crazy. I think another good one, like, okay, so you're familiar with Berserk, right? Like,
Yeah.
right, the manga kind of became an anime. They're doing a fan animation of it, which is pretty excited for.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, some like fan group came together. They put together a studio clips, and they're animating it. But I think Berserk is also insanely misunderstood because a lot of people, like when they think of Guts, the main character, they're like, this is like ideal masculinity. Like, how much can this guy take? And he like keeps going. He's a beast. Like, he is the embodiment of like male rage, and this is what you should try and be like, right? Like an endless warrior through and through. But really, if you really like boil it down, right? Like, you think about Berserk, it's a man who like can't go to sleep because he's too busy fighting demons. Like, that's an oversimplification, but it's actually really a very sad story about like human nature. Like, he is like a failure, and he's aware that he's a failure, but he's like too immature. He can't handle his emotions in a lot of ways, so he literally keeps running from them, putting his adrenaline and life on the line to literally avoid his emotions. It is a crazy read. It's also like a very graphic one, so it can get kind of confusing, but yeah, I don't think people read deep enough into a lot of things.
Like, I feel like for Berserk in particular, for me, I feel like Guts is a character who embodies the idea of like, I'm not gonna deal with my emotions. I'm just gonna go fight people with a big sword. And that's a very common media trope. Mm-hmm. And like, I feel like obviously he's not like obviously he's one of the most important, one of the most special big sword anime guys.
Yeah.
And I feel like he was the blueprint for a lot of characters that came after him. But that's the thing. A lot of the characters who came after him also like have this same spirit of, yeah, I'm not gonna address my problems, I'm gonna fight about it.
Yep.
And bro, I feel like people don't understand that you can't training arc your way out of mental illness. But like, because no, and that's the thing. It's not like this, and he's not happy. He's miserable all the time. And I feel like we have this whole subsection of online culture who are idolizing people who are miserable all the time. Literally. And oh, surprise, surprise, you're miserable in real life? What? That's crazy.
Insane.
I feel like... Sorry, you were gonna say?
You got it.
No, I was gonna say that, like, yeah, and the thing is that online discourse isn't new. It's not fresh. All the like stuff that people talk about on the internet nowadays is like stuff people were talking about on Tumblr, like what, 10, 7, like 15 years ago. Man. And it's like, okay, this is one that I didn't really understand until like maybe I was in like my third year of college. Scott Pilgrim.
It's crazy, man.
Apparently there's like a lot of discourse about there was, and like they did the new animated show last year which kind of restarted the whole online discourse, but the whole discourse was about people idolized Scott Pilgrim and Ramona Flowers, like they wanted to emulate these characters. And in my brain I'm like, why? Because no, the movie literally starts with Scott Pilgrim was dating a high schooler. And it's like, it's not, I don't know whether it's just the way I was raised, but I didn't come away from the movie being like, yeah, this is the guy I want to be like. I want to grow up to date high schoolers. Like, what?
As a non-high schooler.
As a grown man,
yeah.
23 plus years old, and you're introducing your 17-year-old girlfriend to your bandmates. Like, bro. And the thing is that like nobody, and that's another thing, which is crazy that it even came up, because bro, nobody around him approved of the relationship. Everybody everybody clowned him for it. And the thing is, I feel like he's another example, but like a lot more low key, because he's not outwardly macho. Yeah. He's not like, you can't put Scott Pilgrim in a Sigma male compilation. He's gonna look out of place.
That's facts. Yeah.
But the thing is that apparently people saw what he did and were like, yeah, I want to be a dude in a grunge band who dates girls who are out of my league. And it's like, I feel like you're not taking away the right message, because at the end of the movie, he literally fights like the opposite version of himself, who just turns out to be a really cool and nice guy. So I don't know. Maybe the regular Scott is a fucking dick.
Probably. Actually, yeah, that's exactly what that implies.
Literally. And the whole, Ramona Flowers. Like, first of all, bro, do not dye your hair every week. That will fuck your shit up. Your hair will be crunchy.
You'll be hairless.
You do not want that. That's like the most unrealistic thing about her. But second of all, no, because how are you fucking your shit up like that every week and it looks good?
Yeah, that's true. That's like a 3-month max cycle you got there.
No, for real. And maybe she just doesn't care. Maybe that's part of what makes her cool. Who knows?
Yeah. That's pretty sick.
And like they're like, oh, there are people who like idolize Ramona Flowers, and I'm like, oh, because they like dye their hair. Because I've never really seen anybody be like, oh yeah, I want to have a league of all my exes try and fight my current boyfriend.
That's crazy.
I guess, but I do kind of like, if you think about it, Scott Pilgrim and Ramona Flowers might have been the OG situationship. Okay, because hear me.
Something.
All right, because hear me out. Because they're both broke. They're both 20-somethings, like, doing their mutual jobs. They both obviously want something. But here's the thing. Scott is still seeing another girl who's younger than him. And Ramona is still dealing with literally all of her exes. So they get together and they don't put a label on it, quote unquote. But they still go through all the relationship bullshit. Now, I'm not going to say they were the blueprint for the situationship, but like low key, they might have been one of the first.
Yeah. That's sounding like a dictionary definition, honestly. Like an example.
Bro, I hate that word so much, situationship.
It's because
you're like, oh, I'm in a situationship. Like, if you're in a situationship, you're not in anything.
I also feel like it kind of waters down, like, or dilutes like what you actually have going on. Because it's like that. I mean, everyone's in a situationship because it's where you are at the time with the people that you're with. Like, that is literally the existence of life that most people experience.
Like, oh, you're in a situation? Congratulations, you're alive.
Yeah, you've done it. No, it is crazy. But it makes me wonder, in a sense, like, kind of bringing it back to, like, media literacy. Like, should the writers focus on being more... Do you think there's almost, like... I'm not going to say, like, a duty, but do you think that they should focus on being a lot more blunt with what they write or with their pieces?
See, I feel like as a writer, it's important to know your audience, but at the same time, you're not responsible for how stupid the audience is.
That's big. Yeah, that's completely true.
Because, like, okay, think about, like, the Fast and Furious movies.
I don't want to.
I know it's tough, but just stay with me for a second.
My family.
It's family. Can you imagine somebody trying to start discourse about the Fast and Furious movies?
I mean,
what would they say? That it's not about family?
It's not. You better wear a seatbelt. No, it is. Yeah, that's very true. It's so freaking apparent. Have you ever seen Vinland Saga or read Vinland Saga?
I have seen Vinland Saga. Amazing.
Like both seasons, right?
I'm like at the middle of season 2.
Okay. I think that, like, you know, I guess if you haven't seen it, this could be a spoiler, but I do think, and I won't spoil the ending, but I do think that Vinland Saga did make it extremely apparent between the season 1 to season 2, because I think in season 1, like, the main character kind of falls into, like, what we were talking before, like, can be like that main, like angry, vengeance-driven character that's willing to go so far just to get his hand at, like, vengeance and, like, avoids his problems. But then season 2 made it so... Because I kind of thought season 2 was going to be like season 1, like, violent, aggressive, like...
Honestly, same.
And it's just it smacked me in the face. I was like, I felt like we were watching a different show, but it made it unmissable. Like, yeah, literally season 1 is him just losing his shit, to be honest, and, like, really escalating a lot of situations and himself. And then season 2 is just like, this is the repercussions of that. This is literally the repercussions of that, and this is him finding out what he was actually trying to figure out in season 1. Without giving any spoilers away, like so that's why it's kind of vague. But I think that like I couldn't miss it. I might have misinterpreted if season 2 wasn't so freaking blunt.
And I do understand that, but like I feel like how exact do you think? But like the thing about you said like the writer being blunt, but like if we make media like more blunt, what happens to nuance? Because like I feel like the most example of like really like blunt movies and stuff is like scary movies or literally Deadpool. Because yeah, those are like I feel for like something to be blunt, it needs to be self-aware or like actually no, I don't think that's necessarily true. Blunt towards the audience, I guess. It needs to be something that's like self-aware, and I feel like that needs to be like part of the whole shtick of the movie or the character. Like maybe like if you have somebody doing like narration, like in that Michael Fassbender movie that came out on Netflix, The Killer. If you have Deadpool breaking the fourth wall, if you have like I don't know, like in the product placement in like Wayne's World, I feel. But like what? Okay, let's say if you took like. I'm trying to think what kind of movie that if you like made it blunt would like what would be the point of the movie? Because like I'm struggling to come up with a good example. I don't know why every movie I've ever seen is suddenly slipping my mind.
No, it always happens like that. Did you see Civil War?
The A24 one? No, I haven't. Did you see it?
I did see it. And I think this is actually, it could be a good example because I do think the movie was trying to be quite blunt.
Mm-hmm.
And it was very interesting talking with people on multiple sides of like the American political spectrum, how they interpreted the movie. Because, okay, like I do truly think that, and I think this is almost like why we might be answering the question, like I don't think you'll ever be able to truly get your point across because people have to interpret things in their own way. And especially with media, there's so many loose things going on. In my opinion, Civil War was really just about like pointless violence. Just like, hey, at the end of the day, like it's people killing people. They actually literally put that line in the movie, like, because it follows some journalists and there were two people like kind of like doing shooting at each other long distance. And this reporter was like, I need the story, like what's going on? Who are you? What faction are you a part of? What faction are they a part of? Like, why is he shooting at you? Like, what's the narrative here? And the guy just kind of looks at one of the younger protagonists and goes like, what do you see here? She's like, someone's shooting at you and you're shooting at him. He's like, exactly. And at the end of the day, someone's gonna fucking die. Like, I think that was the point of the movie, but talking with people that completely aligned to their own political, and they're like, oh, people who are on the left side are like, this is an example of what happens when like far right stuff gets out of hand. On the right side are like, this is an example of what happens when XYZ happens. So I almost think you can be blunt, but I think people are still going to misinterpret your freaking statement.
See, and that's another thing. I feel like talking about how people ignore signs in movies, like, bro, people ignore the obvious in like real life too.
Yeah. Oh my God, you're so right about that.
And it's like, bro, like I feel like there's no instruction manual for life. There's no training wheels. But I feel like there's certain stuff because like I don't like to say that people are stupid. But like a lot of people who are smarter than me have said people were stupid. So I guess maybe they are.
Yeah.
And it's like difficult, I think, because what do you want? Do you want like Darth Vader to turn towards the screen and look at the audience and like, this is bad. I'm cutting off my son's hand because I'm a bad guy. And it's like, it's also the people who are like, if you see something in a movie and you're like, this person has to worship Satan. Ooh. What are you doing? What do you do in your spare time? What kind of life do you live?
I don't know.
Because I don't know. It's like that because I think, like, I agree with what you said. People are always gonna interpret things in their own way. And I think, like, the ability to leave stuff to interpretation is one of the best things about movies. But at the same time, like, don't be annoying about it. because I'm a very big fan of like having my hobbies and not interacting with anybody else who has the same hobbies whatsoever. Because there's nothing worse than finding out that you like something and almost everybody else who likes the same thing is kind of an annoying weirdo.
Yeah. No, I understand that feeling. It's like sometimes things are just better kept to yourself.
No, for real.
More enjoyable. But no, it's interesting because like we evolved just talking about like reading into things, because I feel like our generation and the younger generation is just masters of overthinking everything. So overthink the crap out of everything usually stems out of some sort of like insecurity about themselves. And it's like always introspective, but our brains literally evolved to like put together narratives, like put together pieces. And so many things in life happen, and so many things in history have happened like coincidentally, and they just happen because they happen, and they really don't carry much meaning, but we put a lot of meaning and we attach a lot of meaning to it. So I almost think this is one of those reasons that like why we can have so much misinterpretation. Because for example, if I were to say like, okay, a lion, a hunter, and a bear, you're probably thinking like your mind probably went to, okay, there's a hunter and he's got to deal with a lion and a bear, like they're coming at him, right? That's a problem. Mm-hmm. That's probably like a narrative you automatically put together without me even having to specify. I didn't give any context to lion. It could be a lion in the 1800s, a hunter in Minnesota right now, and a bear in Alaska. No crossover whatsoever, but people will automatically like try and just connect dots.
Right.
And that I think it's very fascinating, and I think that's why like all those books. Remember in high school they would tell you like the color of the book that they wrote in here, like it matters, and it show like green's the color of envy or something like that. Some dude did a survey where he just like reached out to 60 authors and asked if every single word and all those little nuances they talk about in high school had meaning or relevance to the story, and almost all of them said no, not really.
Like, yeah, obviously not, bro. You're writing something. It's a book you're reading in high school. But like at the same time, I feel like because that whole thing you mentioned about colors and everything, there was a whole thing online where like, oh, the curtains were just blue, bro. Like, oh, why are the curtains blue? The curtains were just blue. I feel like if you go too far on either end of the spectrum, it leads you to media illiteracy, because it's either, oh, nothing means everything, or everything means something. Either way, I feel like you're gonna lose the intended understanding. And if you were gonna infer something, anything you might have been able to like infer correctly is probably gonna end up being lost.
Very true. Yeah, it's actually, it's like if you read too much into it, you're also like, you're not reading it correctly. And if you don't read into it, if you speed read the thing, then you're also obviously not getting all of it. So life is all about balance. Wow.
Wow. Deep, we're going to a deep place, huh? But no. Like, I don't know. Have you ever like seen a movie with somebody who just does not have the ability to suspend their disbelief?
Their disbelief?
Somebody who's always like, why is this happening? Or that wouldn't happen in real life. Like that kind of person.
Oh, yeah. Sometimes I'm like that.
And like watching movies with somebody like that is like weird. Because like at the opposite end of the spectrum, there's somebody who's like, oh, sorry, I didn't see that. Oh, can you rewind that? Oh, can you pause real quick? I'm sorry, can you rewind by 10-20 minutes? Bro, I don't see, that's the thing, I don't know who I find more insufferable, honestly.
They're both bad, actually, because not everything has meaning.
See? The worst is the combination, the person who's always on their phone but does their best to pay attention to every single thing in the scene. Because, bro, you gotta look up. Why are you making me rewatch the same scene 3 times?
Bro, I have to say, like, when I know a lot of people just will throw... It's pretty interesting, because, like, I talk with some friends and some, like, coworkers, and they're like, oh, have you watched XYZ? Have you watched XYZ? And they'll talk about the show as if they watch it, but then a lot of them say, like, yeah, I just throw it on in the background, and I'll, like, clean the house or do work. I'm like, so you're not really watching the show.
Yeah.
Like, how can you say you watch the show?
It's weird. Like the concept of like background shows was like introduced to me like in college, and then I'm like, why not just like play some music or something? Like, do you not like, unless it's something that you don't really like want to watch that much, or if it's something that you've already seen before, then yeah, I feel like that'll make Because I threw on, what was it? This old Avengers cartoon from when I was a kid. And it was like, yeah, it was fun because like, oh, I could clean my room. I could look up, get a little bit of nostalgia, but I didn't really feel like I'm missing anything. If you're like just throwing on something like you've never seen before, don't you feel like you're missing something? Or is that just me?
No, completely. I can't half watch anything. Like I can't have any background shows. Like I am literally like a fly and like a mosquito in the light, whatever. Like if there's like a show or something on, like I'm watching it fully. I'm not checking my phone. I'm not pausing the fucking thing. I'm not talking to somebody. Like I'm watching the entirety of it. I don't know. I don't have the ability to. If it was up to me, like I probably wouldn't be that way, but I just can't help it.
Honestly, I feel like my attention, I don't know, maybe it's my attention span getting worse, but I've been getting better, like more and more accustomed to like background stuff. Like I can't even remember, like I sat down, like when I'm in the theater, it's different. Like I'm locked in. But like people are like, oh, but like I want to be able to go on my phone, and it's like, okay, but then just don't ask me to fucking rewind it.
Yeah. The thing too is like, I mean, I know we both like love media. We love movies and TV. And I feel like if I was background watching something or kind of like half-ass watching it, I wouldn't be able, because like, you know the feeling when a moment in a show just really grips you, like it really just enthralls you and it pulls you in. And then sometimes you are like, you watch it and you're like, I need to watch this again. Like, so that's when you rewind like appropriately. I feel like you lose the chance for that. Like you lose a chance for all those little moments that come up to like that climax into this huge, like awesome moment that happens in TV.
No, I really agree, because if like your viewing is disjointed, there's moments that just aren't gonna hit the same.
100%.
Like, when like my last year of college, my housemates were watching Arrested Development, but I came in like the middle of maybe the second season. So most of the stuff that happened, I was just like, just made me even more confused. And that's the thing. You can watch entire episodes, but if you miss context or something important, it's not going to have that same impact.
100%.
An example of really bad impact, though, my sophomore year of college, my roommate at the time had never seen Game of Thrones. So the final season was coming out, and he's like, okay, I'm going to watch all of Game of Thrones to prepare for the final season. So he spends like what, three weeks to a month. He's watching like 10 Game of Thrones. That's even being generous. Maybe like 5 Game of Thrones episodes every day. He's putting in the hours because he wants to be ready for the final season. And the final season came out and he was like, bro, what was the point of anything I just did?
Yeah, it was so bad.
It's tough, man. And that's another, and also like Star Wars. Like, bro, like, okay, I've like kind of been of the opinion that most of the Star Wars movies already aren't good. But like the sequels were, like, bro, I remember watching The Last Jedi with my brother and being like, okay, yeah, this was ass.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like 2-3 years after it came out, I think this was already after the last one to come out, The Rise of Skywalker, people were like, The Last Jedi is a good movie, actually. And I was like, you know what? Maybe I was immature when I saw that movie. Let's run it back. And yeah, I ran it back twice just to confirm that shit was ass.
Oh, man.
Like, bro. Like, no. Because something being bad, like, it's not like it got worse, but it didn't get any better. Actually, no, it got worse.
Yeah. Like, I hate it when, honestly, Star Wars and Transformers, both those franchises just killed themselves for me, and
Bro,
it's
did
sad.
Did you see the new trailer? They're making another Transformers movie? Transformers 1?
I had to stop watching them because they just became so bad.
Bro, really, really bad.
Like, it's dishearteningly bad.
And it's like, I rewatched the old ones a while back, and like Transformers 2, even with like the racist robots, it's like it's like the worst one, but that shit was still pretty good.
I know.
No, like those movies were so out of pocket, low
Yeah,
key.
no, hugely out of pocket.
Because who was like in the writers' room being like, yeah, he's directly below the enemy scrotum. Like what?
I wonder so many times in writers' rooms how things go through, like, because there's like 10 different versions of every scene that they're like pitching and bouncing, and just sometimes the ones they land on just can't be the best option.
Like, is that really it? Is it that you guys just really liked the person who gave you this idea and you just didn't want to like make them feel bad?
Yeah, I don't know. Marvel needs to change Marvel needs to fix themselves. They need to have some serious talks to their writers because their movies have just been horrible.
No, like for real. Deadpool 3 broke the mold though. Go see it.
Different. I always consider the Deadpool movies kind of outside the Marvel. I know it's a Marvel studio, but it just feels separate for some reason.
Even this movie, he's like in the MCU now, but the whole movie is very self-contained.
Yeah. You know what? Like, okay, this is going to be a little bit of a side Marvel rant, but like, okay, Logan. Whoa, what a movie, right? That felt like that was a movie that happened to be about superheroes. Bro, why can they not do that for Ghost Rider and Planet Hulk? I need to see that in my life. Though that would make my life unequivocally better.
See, I completely agree, but I feel like it's not even. I feel like it's it's like a matter of like where the studio wants to go versus where they've been. Because superhero movies, because the thing is that even if you look back and rewatch some of the older Marvel movies, they weren't all winners. They weren't all that great.
100%.
But they had like there was like but you knew they were building up towards something. You knew that something greater was gonna come, like a greater whole was gonna come out of all these pieces.
For sure.
I feel like what's happening right now is they're just kind of throwing stuff at the wall and seeing what sticks. I feel like they had like a rough outline of a plan with like the whole Kang thing, but then that fell through in a very public way.
Yep.
And I feel like right now I feel like what they think that just by giving more spectacle, they don't like Marvel doesn't want to make movies. They want to make cinematic events. They want to make movies that are gonna absolutely just be blockbusters, that they want to have a million like toys and brand deals. And the thing about like more mature R-rated movies is that when they release those, they like lose a big part of their target demographic, which is kids.
100%.
But here's the thing: a lot of the people who are still seeing Marvel movies now, in my opinion, are people who were watching them when they were younger. And bro, Thor: Love and Thunder was nothing but a reminder that, oh yeah, you probably have a kid now. This is fun.
Yeah.
God, that movie was so bad. Like, oh my god.
I know. They had some winners though.
No, they had some winners, but like, did I tell you I watched Madam Web?
No, I can't believe you watched it,
bro. Oh man, Madam Web. What a film. What a movie.
Yeah.
Like,
tell me about it.
I can't believe that somebody watched that and was like, yeah, we're gonna release this in theaters.
It's crazy.
Like, there's so much that was wrong with that movie. It's like difficult to find a place to start. But I feel like the biggest one is that the actor that played Ezekiel, like, he didn't speak English. They were like they were really poorly dubbing over his voice lines.
What?
No, because I started watching the movie, and like the movie like opens with him, and I was watching it and I was like, wait, something feels a little bit off. And then I looked at his lips and I'm like, bro, you cannot be serious right now.
Oh, that's
like
crazy.
these men were dubbing over his lines, his voice. Like, obviously they don't even get in costume in the movie. That's a really big one. Weird as hell. And apparently the fact that they lied and told like Dakota Johnson and them that it was gonna be an MCU movie is like, why would you do that? Why would you lie to these hardworking actresses?
Yeah, they messed up.
There's literally like a section in like the middle, maybe like 30-40 minutes into the movie, where she just like assembles the main cast who she's trying to protect and be like, okay, I'm gonna leave you here in the woods and go to South America or something, I think it was. And like, you know that thing they do in movies that whenever you go to like South America or Mexico, the whole screen becomes like yellower or like oranger. Like the whole filter changes. So they just basically sent her into like a different movie with like a different filter for like 30 minutes.
It's a long time.
Bro, it's like what are we doing here? Like what is going on?
Didn't they also like, I remember, I haven't seen the movie, but I remember hearing, wasn't the line "use your black girl magic"? Was that in the movie?
What?
Wasn't that in?
I'm not gonna lie, I've done my best to block most of that movie from my memory. But honestly, with the way that shit was set up, I can fully believe that.
Wait. Let me make sure I know which movie, because it was the Marvels. I'm sorry. In the Marvels.
Oh my god, really?
Quote, "Use your black girl magic."
Who said that? To who?
I don't think it was a black person saying it to a black person. Personally, I don't know. You guys can look it up, but it did happen. I didn't make anything up.
Like, there's a very unique phenomena that I've been encountering ever since graduation. That sometimes I see something or like I hear something and it's like a white man wrote that.
You got the Caucasian gate radar.
Bro, Caucasian gaydar is crazy.
The radar. You can tell.
Bro. And it's like, and I don't know, maybe it goes back to how I'm interpreting things. But sometimes you see something and it's like, were you intending for this to come across this particular way? Because it's like, oh, I feel like somebody in corporate made them write that. Like somebody was like, yeah, we gotta let them know that we're down with the girl power. Like,
yeah.
Bro,
I would never say that.
And that one scene in Endgame where like all the female superheroes like assemble for like a gratuitous shot. I remember so many people having like a problem with it, being like, oh yeah, they're trying to like make fun of it. And I'm like, bro, it's a Marvel movie. It's already spectacle. That we're like, oh, it's cringe. And I'm like, how is it cringe? It's a group shot. We've already had like 4 of those in like the last couple of minutes.
Yeah.
But like this, that is actually cringe. Madam Web, see, that's the thing. Madam Web wasn't even a cringe fest. It's just like, wow, maybe art is dead. Honestly. Don't get me wrong. I didn't go into but here's the thing. You don't go into a superhero movie expecting high art. You want to see people in tight costumes punching each other with a maybe half decent storyline, and most people are gonna walk away from that happy.
Here's my thing though. Because some people like to avoid talk about movies just so they can get the full experience, like they don't want any surprises. And I would say that I think people who are really into the Spider-Man side of Marvel were probably actually disappointed, because all the Spider-Man movies recently have been like pretty good. They've been pretty decent. Spider-Verse, absolute bangers.
Very good, amazing movies.
If you're like, oh man, I'm loving all this Spider-Man stuff, and then you go see Madam Web, you probably cried. You probably cried in theater.
See, I feel like from the jump with Madam Web, even from the way people talked about it. Like, you want to talk about how people interpret media? Everybody was interpreting that media to be a piece of shit.
Yeah. So if everyone's on the same page about things, like the thing is, like, people will disagree with what color the sky is. You can say, what color is the sky? Is it blue? And people will disagree with you. But if people are unanimous about something, it's usually pretty damn accurate.
And Madam Web, bro,
sucks.
And it didn't have. And the thing is that, like, I feel like these movies don't have to be this bad. Like, bro, you're Sony. You're a massive corporation. You have millions of dollars.
Oh, if anyone can make a banger, it's them.
bro, and that's the thing. The movies look good. Sony, they're a tech company, so their cameras are amazing.
Mm-hmm.
So the movie's gonna look good, but you're watching it, and it's like in your brain, you're like, damn, they paid somebody. People got paid money to make this. People who were involved in the filmmaking process. But yeah, honestly, I feel like, and when all is said and done, some movies are just mistakes.
Honestly, some movies are just, maybe we're reading too much into it, but some movies are just mistakes. But it's also interesting, like, who even gets to make movies. Like, I don't know how that industry works. I'd be curious about it. If you worked on the Madam Web and you listen to this podcast, not really sorry. Like, I mean, you probably heard.
I'm not sorry whatsoever, but please reach out. We would love to talk about your experience, because
absolutely.
And that's the thing, bro. Nobody ever sets out to make a bad movie, but after you've made a bad movie, how do you deal with the fallout of it?
Dude, it's got to be tough. It's got to be tough.
Because do you know what it is to have like one of the biggest stars in the country being like, yo, you did not see me in that movie? No,
not good. Not good.
It's tough.
But hey, I mean, you never know. You never know what life is going to throw at you, and you never know how people are going to react to things. But I feel like that kind of wraps. Well, maybe it's not the best place to end on this episode, crapping all over Madam Web, but.
Well, aside from that, but if you've seen Madam Web, talk to us about it. Interact with us on our various social media platforms. I highly doubt that we're gonna meet anybody who thinks that movie was good in any way, but I'm really interested to see how you interpreted it.
100%. Just remember, it's all about your outlook. It's all about your outlook.
I feel bad because we spent like the last 10 minutes just talking shit about Madam Web.
But like, it was a really bad movie. It's like, it was culturally a bad movie.
No, like for real. No, like I feel like people like 20 years from now, some poor college student who's like, oh, I was born in the wrong generation is gonna watch Madam Web and be like, never mind. I was born at a perfect time.
Yeah, glad I didn't have to watch that.
No, bro. Like, in each and every way, that movie was a 6-pack of ass.
Six-pack of ass.
Like, man, how do you do it? How do you just make something so unabashedly terrible?
Hey, so, like, I almost wonder sometimes if people are just like, screw it, I like this line, I like this scene, we're just gonna full on send it.
Like, I feel like another thing about Hollywood, I feel like it's like any other industry. It's like, oh, who do you know? True. And like, bro, I feel like it shouldn't matter if that person is like your friend or like your college buddy or whatever. If they are not cooking, you gotta send it back to the kitchen. You just gotta be like, dog, big dog, with respect. I need you to get this bullshit out of my face, for real.
It's like deadlines too. Like, I remember with JJK how there was all the talk about like how the studio, like the workers just being forced to rush out things, and they would rather like take more time and make the scenes even better.
True.
I wonder if that's an aspect, but I'm all for like quality over quantity. Like, I think everyone would rather have something really awesome and worth their time.
Like, I definitely agree. But like I think, like you said, like studios and stuff, I feel like there's a big push to
for sure.
Oh, can we make this? Can we make this? Can we make this a franchise? And that's another fucking thing. That's the one word I don't want to be hearing. Like, if I was like a writer or somebody trying to pitch a project, I would never ever want to hear the word franchise or brand synergy or any of that shit.
Let me tell this story. Let me tell it true.
Like, can I just do this? Like, can I just do this and move on? Like, damn. We just wanted to remind you that if you're feeling high or if you're feeling low, you've always got a place to go. And thank you so much for joining us.